Hello, this is our time. The main news at this hour. Tatiana Slavianskaya is in the studio for you. 2 people were killed and several others injured as a result of a strike on the Sumy region. Russia attacked the region this morning. An agricultural enterprise near the regional center was damaged. A search and rescue operation is underway there. 3 more people were killed, 10 injured, and the train station was destroyed. Russian occupiers launched a massive strike on Lozova in the Kharkiv region. Since last night, rescuers have been clearing the rubble there, dealing with the aftermath of the Russian strike. We are joined now by our Kharkiv correspondent, Natalia Belokudria, with the latest details on yet another Russian terrorist attack. Natalia, I want to say good afternoon, but unfortunately, it's neither a good morning nor a good afternoon. Nevertheless, what is known at this moment about Lozova? What is the situation in Kharkiv itself and in the Kharkiv region as a whole?
The situation in Kharkiv is currently calm. The city wasn't bombed at night, but in the Kharkiv region in the city of Lozova, the Russian occupying army unleashed real terror. For 2 hours, the city was attacked by more than 30 Russian drones. As a result, the transport infrastructure was severely damaged. The railway station, the depot, and the surrounding buildings were completely destroyed. 1 person, a railway worker, was killed and another 10 were injured, including children. According to the doctors, they are experiencing acute stress reactions. Since the strike, all emergency services have been working at the site of impact. Rescue workers also responded. They put out 6 fires. Right now, efforts are underway to deal with the aftermath of the strike. As the mayor of Lozova, Zelenskyy, said, the city of Lozova has not experienced an attack like this since the start of Russia's full-scale aggression against Ukraine. In addition, in Vovchansk, an FPV drone, a Russian FPV drone, hit a moving moped. The passengers on the moped, a man and a woman, died at the scene. A total of 30 strikes were recorded in Kharkiv and the region, with more hits from various types of munitions. That's the situation in the studio at the moment.
Natalia, thank you very much. We will keep following the updates. We were joined by Natalia Belokudra from Kharkiv with details about yet another Russian attack on the region. And Zaporizhia, Odessa, and Sumy regions also came under fire last night. In the village of Bylenk in the Zaporizhia district, the Russians struck directly at people with FPV drones. 2 people were injured, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He called on international partners to increase pressure on Moscow to put an end to Russian terror.
The world now sees that sanctions against Russia and secondary sanctions against everyone. Who profits from it? Can work if they are strong enough? That's why the pressure needs to be increased, and this will definitely work for peace for the United States, European partners, G7 countries, and everyone who is ready to apply real pressure. We are counting on meaningful, decisive steps. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
And also, last night Russia launched 46 drones of various types at Ukraine, as well as an Iskander-M ballistic missile, according to the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The defenders of Ukraine's skies destroyed 29 targets. The air attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare and drone units, as well as mobile fire groups of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. And more than 8 companies were defeated in the Sumy region. Fighters from the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense did not allow the Russian army to advance in the Sumy direction. During the special operation, the intelligence officers managed to clear out the enemy and secure their position. The total losses among Russian troops exceeded 330 people. More than 500 others were. Ukraine is defending itself with dignity against Russian aggression and is a contributor to global security. This is stated by the head of the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry, Andriy Sybiha. According to him, Ukraine is determined to achieve a strong and lasting peace this year.
Territorial integrity and sovereignty must be restored. The power of international law must prevail over the lawlessness of criminal force. Transatlantic security is inextricably linked to the security of the Indo-Pacific region. Ukraine is defending itself against Russian aggression. Today, Ukraine is a contributor to global security. Andriy, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, at the opening of Ukraine's National Day at Expo 2025 in Japan.
At the same time, Germany deployed fighter jets to Poland 2 weeks before the Russian and Belarusian military exercises for 2025, according to Bild. Eurofighter jets will supplement the airspace defense over Rzeszów, which had previously been provided by 2 German Patriot systems. About 1,500 German soldiers have also arrived in Poland. They will serve as a so-called rapid response company, a unit capable of quickly reacting to violations of the country's airspace. Ukraine, for its part, is working on organizing a visit by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy personally handed him the invitation. Nariman Zeliol, Ukraine's ambassador to Turkey. According to him, this visit requires significant effort. I should note that the last time Erdogan visited Kyiv was in February 2022, 3 weeks before the full-scale Russian invasion.
President Zelenskyy's invitation is very. Turkey is interested in signing a free trade agreement. This deal is important for a significant part of the business community, although for some it may create tension due to increased competition. However, this is politics. President Zelenskyy proposed to ratify this agreement during Erdogan's visit, which would be a good gesture for the Turkish president as well. Nariman Zeliol, ambassador of Ukraine to Turkey, TSN Ukraine.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin stated that Putin supposedly does not rule out the possibility of a personal meeting with the president of Ukraine, but only after additional work has been done and, I quote, "the proper distance has been overcome." This statement was made by the dictator's spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov. The press secretary did not specify what kind of work he meant or exactly what distance, in his opinion, needs to be overcome. Why Moscow is once again talking about a high-level meeting and what the Kremlin is actually trying to achieve has been investigated by Irina Yusupova.
This is not the first time that Moscow has said a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Putin is possible. However, every time, the Kremlin dictator spokesman, Peskov, has announced new conditions for this. For example, to carry out preliminary work at the expert level or to agree on the necessary documents. In the West, such rhetoric from Putin and his entourage has long been seen as a political maneuver aimed at keeping negotiations at a technical level and avoiding direct dialogue.
Vladimir Putin has stated that he wants a lasting and stable peace in Ukraine, but has shown no sign that he is ready to make any concessions to achieve it. And all these words are being spoken at a time when Russian missiles and drones are once again spreading death and destruction across Ukraine. From a publication by The Guardian.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has confirmed his readiness to negotiate with Moscow to end the full-scale Russian aggression. If this is, I quote, truly a signal to establish peace, and not just an attempt to buy time for war and delay it.
Ukraine is ready to act as quickly as possible for the sake of peace. We all clearly understand what steps are needed. We understand who in Russia is able to make decisions. That is why Ukraine once again proposes to move from technical level talks to stop exchanging statements and to actually meet at the level of leaders. I want to thank President Trump for his willingness to have such a meeting. I am grateful to everyone who supported this. What is needed is Russia's readiness.
Let us recall, on May 16th, when the first round of negotiations was held in Istanbul, Putin simply did not show up, even though he himself had initiated the meeting at the leaders' level during a phone conversation with Turkish President Erdogan. As a result, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, heads of ministries and agencies, and hundreds of journalists from around the world flew to Turkey. And the Kremlin dictator did not comment on his absence. After 3 rounds of negotiations in Istanbul, the Russian Federation still did not agree to a ceasefire, and Putin's negotiators continued to put forward so-called justified demands. This time, Russia started talking about peace also with the aim of not angering Trump. First of all, the U.S. president is demanding that Moscow agree to end the war by August 8. And secondly, the states have demonstrated their readiness to respond to possible nuclear provocations from Russia. After a series of threats from Russia's Security Council Deputy Chairman Medvedev, the head of the White House ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be put on combat duty.
Well, we had to do it. We just need to be careful. There was a threat, and we considered it inappropriate. That's why I have to be very careful. I'm doing this for the safety of our people. The former president of Russia is threatening us, and we are going to.
By the way, after Medvedev, the leader of the Fair Russia faction in the State Duma, Mironov, also started making threats. Though not with a nuclear strike, but with the appearance of Russian paratroopers in the office of the head of the White House. At the same time, the Kremlin officially states that one should be careful with such rhetoric and that, supposedly, the official authorities do not want to get involved in this kind of polemics.
Putin regularly uses the former president to ramp up radical rhetoric, which is meant to cause panic and fear among Western political leaders and to restrain support for Ukraine. Putin could easily put a stop to such statements from Medvedev if he wanted to, especially considering that the Kremlin coordinates official messaging and has complete control over the information space, the internet, and the media in Russia. From the Institute for the Study of War report.
The Institute for the Study of War report, like the views of Western leaders, shows that trust in the Kremlin is currently at zero. From now on, only real actions will be evaluated, not words. And threats about the work of expert groups to drag out the peace process and avoid sanctions won't work anymore. Irina Yusupova for Freedom TV Channel.